Hi friends, we can do another quick one here before I run out of light. 2005. Now, most of us watching this probably remember 2005. This was a year before my daughter was born, but a lot of people might have nostalgia for 2005. I think that's crazy. In my mind, 2005 was 3 years ago. But no, it was 20 years ago. 20 years ago. Crazy. Jeez, I can't even comprehend it. So, let's jump into this. YouTube! Yay, YouTube! Praise the algorithms. YouTube premieres and goes live in May, and by September they have their first 1 million view video, and I didn't write down what that video was, but I could do a whole bunch about the history of YouTube. There's some interesting facets and things that have happened over the last 20 years, but here we are, 20 years of YouTube. It's crazy. Reddit also started 20 years ago in 2005. We had the trial of Saddam Hussein, which is pretty interesting to watch clips of because he was, let's just say, not very cooperative. You also had the Terry Schiavo situation where the woman was brain dead and on life support, and the husband wanted to pull the plug and the family wanted to keep her alive, so it was in the courts forever, and they finally decided that the guy had the right to decide, and they pulled the plug on Terry Schiavo. Canada passed the Civil Marriage Act, effectively legalizing gay marriage, and 20 years later we have no problems with that anywhere in the world anymore. It's all just, it was a solved deal. And no, obviously that's not the thing. That's something we're still talking about and debating about. Oh my God, the world these days. I long for the simpler times of 2005, I guess. That was also the year in Ireland that the IRA put their weapons down. It was the IRA disarmament, effectively ending the troubles from the 70s and the 80s. And therefore, no more problems in Europe either. No, that's not true either, because we also had the London bombings, which I don't remember anything about at that time, but apparently they're one of the most deadly terrorist attacks to ever happen. There was several bombs that went off across London in one day or 1 or 2 days. The Huffington Post started, Ariana Huffington, and Mark Felt identified himself as Deep Throat, the confidential informant from the whole Watergate thing. You see about all it in the movie from the 70s called All the President's Men. And 30 years later, it's like, okay, good job, guy. Steve Fawcett becomes the first person to fly around the world non-stop without stopping for non-stop. Of course, be non-stop if he wasn't without stopping for fuel. 67 hours to fly non-stop around the world. First time that had ever been done. The plane that he used was kind of neat because he had to have extra fuel tanks. So it's that cool plane that's got the body and then the wings are attached and different. It's a neat looking plane. Twilight was first published, so that's good, I guess. It was originally started out as Harry Potter fan fiction. Is that true? Am I making that up? Yeah, I think that's true. Andrew Stimpson was the first person effectively cured of AIDS. Not AIDS, HIV to be specific. And so it's still a huge epidemic around the world. And with the cutting of USAID this year, it could become epidemic proportions again in places in Africa. But it went from the biggest, deadliest epidemic of our lifetime to manageable disease that one would have. So that's cool. Michael Jackson is acquitted of all charges. We won't go into that too much farther. The BTK killer was captured and sentenced to several lifetimes in prison. The killer of 3 civil rights workers in 1964 was finally arrested. And that would be the events that led to the movie Mississippi Burning, where 3 civil rights workers were killed in the process of the Civil Rights Act that was passed in 1964, and they didn't know who it was for years and years and years. So here's almost 30 years later, they caught the guy. He ended up dying in prison after only serving like 7 years or 12 years, 7 years of his term, because he was like 90 by that time. But evil was abated once again. Guitar Hero premiered in 2005 and brought the spotlight back to guitar as a viable creative outlet and musical instrument for people. A lot of songs regained popularity after being included on various Guitar Hero games. So that's cool. One for the team. Rest in peace to Pope John Paul II. I always thought that was the second pope of my lifetime, but apparently there was one. There was whoever was first in my lifetime. Then there was a pope in like 1976 or 77 that died immediately. Like he was only a pope for like less than a year, maybe even only a couple of months. And then Pope John Paul II, then Francis, and then the Nazi Pope, and then Pope Francis, and then now the new one, Pope Benedict. Francis was the Nazi one, then Pope Francis, Pope Benedict, and then now the new one, Pope Leo. Whatever. I hate religion, so that's just, they're just guys dressing up in costumes to me with big hats. Also, rest in peace to Rosa Parks and Richard Pryor. The Live Aid event was in 2005, 20 years after the original Live Aid, which I'll talk about when we get to 1985. But it was significantly larger than the Live Aid, because instead of just 2 concerts, Live Aid was Philadelphia and in Wembley Stadium. Live 8 was called that because it was 8 different locations with all of the biggest artists in the world, and obviously raised millions and millions of dollars for life-saving food, hunger, and all that stuff. But mainly significant for getting the original 4, the classic era 4. Obviously there was no Syd Barrett, but the classic era original four members of Pink Floyd together for the very last time, which Richard Wright would die a few years after this, so that will never ever happen again. So we got Pink Floyd reuniting. Hurricane Dennis decimated large swaths of Florida, and within a couple of weeks, Hurricane Katrina said, "Hold my beer," and destroyed New Orleans and most of southern Louisiana. 1,600 people dead and $108 billion worth of damage. You also had the iconic event of, on the live telecast, Kanye West saying that George Bush hates black people, and Mike Myers, huge, skilled improviser, just left deer in the headlights. Like, he didn't know what to say after that. So it was like, and it was one of the first events of us getting to see like how bold and crazy Kanye could be. The Xbox 360 was released in 2005. Ted Koppel retires from Nightline after years and years and years. TV shows. The Office premiered. Obviously a copy of the British version of The Office created by Ricky Gervais. It would go on to surpass the fame of the original. The Office was amazing, launching quite a few huge superstars, Steve Carell and John Krasinski and Dwight Schrute. Other TV shows that premiered in 2005 were Always Sunny in Philadelphia, which is crazy because now I think it's got like a record for one of the longest running scripted live action sitcoms of all time. Doctor Who rebooted with Chris Ellen. I never know how to say his last name. Cynic. I can't remember how to say his name. Obviously, I was a huge fan of the Doctor Who reboot, but I didn't really fall in love with the Doctor until David Tennant became the 10th Doctor. But Grey's Anatomy was also brand new, and I watched like the first season of it. That show is still going today. That's got to have some kind of record. Launched several people into big careers, and including the creator, Shonda Rhimes, went on to create Scandal and several other really awesome TV shows. No Reservations with Anthony Bourdain. Rest in peace. Anthony Bourdain was gotta be one of the coolest dudes to ever live. I'm not even a foodie, and I'm not a huge fan of travel shows like that, but that show just roped me in every time I had a chance to see an episode. It was so good the way that guy just thought. Just cool. The Colbert Report. Stephen Colbert's satirical like character of conservative just poked fun and poked holes in the conservative and Republican narratives for at least half a decade. I'm pretty sure he was an original Daily Show alum, along with Stephen Carell, started on The Daily Show. How I Met Your Mother was also a huge launching pad at that time. And for the longest time, I didn't know that was Bob Saget doing the voiceover. And rest in peace to Bob Saget, too. So, anyway, we'll try to keep this one kind of short and sweet. 2005. There you go.